Now, look, I support Donald Trump's policies on Israel. I support his war on woke, making Europe pay more for its own defence, all that. But every conservative cheering everything Trump does should also realise this. Trump is helping left-wing leaders around the West get re-elected by attacking their countries, making them look like defenders of the nation. It's definitely helping Labor here, which is why it's painting Peter Dutton as a mini-Trump, which he isn't. It's also helped Canada's hopelessly left-wing Liberal government, which was heading for a landslide defeat until Trump said he'd destroy Canada's economy with tariffs to make it become America's 51st state. Now the Liberals' vote has more than doubled, and the new Prime Minister has just called a snap election for next month, saying Trump is the issue.
President Trump claims that Canada isn't a real country. He wants to break us so America can own us. We will not let that happen.
Same thing in Britain. Trump's attacks on Europe has made the Labour government of Keir Starmer look like, well, it's the tough guys. They're the ones going to replace America's Europe's defender, and their numbers are now rising. Joining me from London is writer, columnist and presenter Esther Kraku. Esther, Donald Trump is defending the left in the US, but he is helping left-wing leaders overseas. Tell us what's going on.
Yes, we've now seen that many sort of right of centre parties in Britain, in Canada, in Australia have to tread a very fine line because to make people like Mark Carney, who was governor of the Bank of England from 2013 to 2020, so us Brits really do sympathise with the hell of a choice that the Canadians are about to face, it is quite a feat. I mean, you know, this is a Liberal Party that was heading for defeat. And now, because of Trump's really what can be described as trolling, calling Canada the 51st state, he seems like a competent and strong leader. And it's whether these countries, whether Australia, whether Canada, whether Britain, remember, you know, this establishment, these parties that have put them through hell for the last decade, particularly during COVID. I mean, when Mark Carney was the governor of the Bank of England, we basically saw no growth. His management of Britain's money supply led to catastrophic decisions and basically businesses borrowing on the cheap and not having to grow and innovate at Britain's expense. So it's important for these countries to remember that. And what the challenge that someone like Pierre Poilievre has, who is the leader of the opposition in Canada, is, actually positing himself as a strong leader that's not necessarily going to do everything that Trump says, but is actually going to work in the best interest of Canada, which is actually what Trump has been saying with his America First policy. So it's quite difficult. I mean, Nigel Farage is facing the same issue here in Britain. And I think Elon Musk actually almost disavowing him as leader of the Reform Party helped him a little bit, because at least Brits can't say that he's just a puppet of Elon Musk and then by extension Trump. So it's really, a balancing act. But you can see how desperate the Liberal Party is in Canada if this is their best shot.
Well, look, you've put your finger on it there, Esther. I hear a lot of people who say, on the Conservative side, will say, oh, look, we've got to be more like Trump. We've got to praise him. No, you've got to learn from Trump in this respect. Put your country first. You're not make America great again. You're making your own country great again. Your country first. And that means fighting Trump quite often on some of the things that he's trying to do to you. That is the way to be more like Trump. Put your country first. And I think some of the left-wing leaders have discovered that a little quicker than some of the conservative ones.
Exactly. And this is the trouble that many Conservative Party leaders are facing. It's how to, not be Trump in all of his rhetoric, but be Trump in the sense that you're representing your country and your country's interests and defending your country's industries. That being said, in as much as, at least here in Britain and particularly in Canada as well, in as much as they'll try and posit themselves as adults in the room, you have to remember that the GDP per capita in Canada and Britain is lower than the poorest state in America, which is Mississippi. So, I mean, they can talk a big game, but people don't certainly feel better off, which is an important thing to bear in mind.
Look, that's a good point too. I have to say, though, Trump's war on woke must actually make sense in Britain. That's one thing you can take from him. When you have a Christian nurse disciplined for calling a trans female Mr. when she was actually giving this trans woman, actually a man, a catheter, when their real gender, that is actually important to know in this procedure, of course. How crazy is this case?
I mean, one of the things that we have to remember about this case and why it's so ridiculous is this individual, this trans female prisoner, was escorted into the building by two prison officers, is in prison for grooming boys, young boys, and decided to shout the N-word, which used to be like the ultimate sin in the woke world, at this nurse who allegedly called him a him while she was trying to put a catheter inside of him because he was complaining of urinary tract problems. And it was the nurse that was disciplined after being racially abused. It was the nurse that faced disciplinary action
Jeez.
by the Epsom hospital that she works at.
It's honestly, it's times like this when you have a lot of sympathy for Donald Trump and you just wonder what on earth is going on. We need a big shake up there. Esther Cracker, always great to talk to you. Thank you so much for your time.